Another movie review for you. This is the 1961 movie The Innocents. It was directed by Clayton. It's based on a book written by Henry James called The Turn of the Screw, and the screenplay was adapted by William Archibald and Truman Capote. And the cast, it starred in the lead role Deborah Kerr as Miss Giddings. She becomes employed as a governess to look after the care of two young children. Michael Redgrave is the uncle of the children, who is devoid of interest of caring for the children, but is prepared to employ a governess to do the job for him. Peter Wyngarde plays the ghost Peter Quint. Meg Jenkins is the housekeeper, Mrs. Gross. The two children, Miles is played by Martin Stevens, Flora is played by Pamela Franklin, and a second ghost, Miss Jessup, is played by Clayton Jessup. Miss Jessel. Now, let's set the scene then. It's Victorian England. It's set out in the country, beautiful setting, marvellous cinematography, admittedly in black and white, and the ghosts. Well, these two people were involved in the care of the children, but they are now deceased, and that is a significant aspect to this movie. So basically what we have here is a sort of drama horror ghost story. Miss Giddings arrives at the retreat. It's full of splendour, as I mentioned. She's been given specific instructions by the uncle, played by Redgrave, to take full responsibility for these two children. It's a country retreat, and she arrives in a horse-drawn carriage. There's a beautiful lake, and it's full of grandeur and splendour, the estate. It's almost timeless. The spirit, as I say, of the deceased governess Jessel and the valet Peter Wyngarde are hanging over the estate, and we will get more about them later on. And the issue that confronts us as the movie unfolds is, are these ghosts possessing the children? They are two very precocious children, and it's quick to get a feeling that these children are behaving more like little adults than angelic innocent children. There are odd moments where their behaviour hints at sort of a developed sexuality rather than young sort of primary school children, and this starts to affect Giddings, played excellently by Deborah Kerr, and she then starts to become unsettled. Her sleep patterns are not satisfactory. She tries to find out more information from the housekeeper, excellently played by Megs Jenkins, and she witnesses some bizarre events. One such is after Miles returns from his boarding school, it appears that he's been expelled, and he is completely oblivious of this happening at school, and carries on with a morbid fascination for his new countess. He is found with pigeons on the roof, and it's there that Giddings sees her first image of the valet, played by Wyngarde. Sound effects are used and close-ups to create tension and fear as we start to try and understand the feelings that Miss Giddings is now experiencing, and we find another scene where she finds the children in a sort of attic room that's surrounded with childhood memorabilia that would have been suitable for their age range, but it's been discarded. Particularly worrying is the rocking horse and a hideous figure of a child laughing that brought back memories of the movie that Auntie Hopkins were in, about a dummy, a sadistic dummy. Giddings learns about the two deceased people in more detail from Jenkins, although she shares it bit by bit, rather reluctant, but it appears that possibly the two of them had become lovers, and that the valet described as receiving an injury and arriving back into the house and suddenly died, and that the governess was beyond reproach after this. Her grief was significant, and she never really recovered from the death of the valet. And so Miss Giddings develops a sense of paranoia the more she hears about the past, and witnesses more and more how the children behave, and she sees that the children are being drawn into this ghostly fantasy, and we find her becoming more extreme in her attempts to resolve why this is happening, and why the children appear immersed in this rather hellish nightmare. The film then moves a further stage forward, with Giddings determined to find out why this is happening, and she basically insists that all members of the household leave apart from Miles, who she has decided is the main protagonist in regard to this possession by the ghosts. The film then leads to a conclusion that I won't divulge, as it's an essential plot spoiler. Overall, it was a movie that created tension. Certainly on the big screen, I'm sure patrons would have been extremely frightened of what they were seeing, and it was certainly one of Clayton's more impressive directional movies. So there we have it then, The Innocents from 1961.